So, hi everybody. I am Dr. Manoj Krishna, and thank you to Nisiganda for organizing and arranging this session on. It's a workshop on stress, but how to use wisdom to deal with, to prevent it, and to overcome it more easily. We're going to be recording this conversation, and I'm going to leave you at the end of this session with only two things. If you can take two things away, your life is going to be transformed. And here are those two things. Firstly, stress is a reaction from our thinking to external events. You cannot control the external events, but you can change the way you react. And if you can do that, and I'll show you how you can do that, then you can live a life where you are calm. The world around you may be in chaos, but it doesn't cause you stress. That's number one. And I'm going to introduce you to an idea that will feel very strange, but it can be life-changing. And that is how to meet stress without thinking. How to meet stress without language. And these are the two ideas, if you can take away from today, you will have got something that's going to be really valuable for the rest of your life. So let me start by sharing my screen. I've got a short presentation, and then we will show you the Human Wisdom app, and we'll combine the presentation and the app as we go forwards. I'll just share my screen. Okay. Can you see that screen, Samira?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So a little bit about me. So I used to be a spine surgeon. I'm from Pune originally. I came to England about 30 years ago. I worked as a spine surgeon for a long time. And about 5 years ago, I left medicine. And I wrote these two books. The first book I wrote in 2017, Understanding Me, Understanding You. The second one, Stress Free, has come out only this year, actually just last week. And my journey is, it really began with, it's worth, if you're interested to hear that story. I was driving home from work one day, after 10 hours of surgery, and the radio was on, the news was on, and a hospital in the Middle East got bombed, children's hospital. And children were screaming on the radio. Something really touched me deeply. And I felt we human beings need to do better. We human beings can do better. We must do better. And we have the intelligence to do better. But you keep thinking, and I felt, I have an understanding that could make a difference. Why is the world not listening? Because it's not new. And then gradually I transitioned out of medicine because I realized that someone has to step up. You know, you'd think politicians, governments, leaders are going to step up, but they're not. It's up to ordinary human beings, to you and me, to make a difference in the world. And that difference begins with this wisdom. So I set up the Human Wisdom Project. I wrote these two books. I started working in education. I worked with young people of all ages, from the ages of 8 up to university. And communicating the simple thing, that this wisdom, which comes from self-knowledge, is already in each of us. And it just needs to be awakened by going on a journey of learning about yourself and how your mind works. Not according to a book or according to me, but as you are. Yes, we can help you, but you have to take that journey. And that journey can be completely life-changing. And today we're going to show you or explore how that can be applied to living with much less stress. Okay. So when I go to colleges and universities, this is a sort of survey I do. And typically these are the results I get. About 70 to 80% say they feel severely or moderately stressed. Sorry, let's go back. About 57% say they feel anxious. And that number varies. But, and by the way, this is very anxious to moderately anxious. Okay, so not just a little bit of anxiety. But here's a really interesting statistic. 81% say it impacts their learning. Right? So imagine if you're studying, you're in IIM, Calcutta, but IIMs around the country, and you're stressed. What you're learning isn't actually going in. So stress is impacting your learning, but it's doing one more thing, which you're not aware of. It's impacting your health. This is a survey in England. 40% of all visits to the primary care doctors, GPs, are linked to stress. And because it diminishes our immune response, it has research is showing it's connected to all the diseases that you can see on this slide. From the common cold to cancer, there's a link. I'm talking of long-term stress here, by the way, and want to differentiate it from the acute short-term stress, which is really useful. Someone attacks you with a knife, or some crisis situation where, of course, stress is very, very useful. But this is the long-term stress. Say you're worried about your children, worried about money. Long-term stress, this is what it's doing to your health. Right. Now, I tell people, you wouldn't live with a toothache for one day. You'd go and see the dentist to get it sorted. But we live with long-term stress. If someone said you're diabetic, you'd say, oh my God, I know it's going to cause me a heart attack and it's going to cause all these problems. I better get it treated. But we don't give the same attention to dealing with our own stress because it's a silent killer. It works in the background. You don't even notice it's there sometimes. So many executives I meet are surprised to realize, oh my God, I didn't realize that's actually, I'm stressed. So it's working in the background sometimes, often without your awareness. And these are the questions we're going to explore. I'm going to leave them on the slide for you to read. But the main thing is the first one. Can it be prevented? See, how can we respond to life without getting stressed? The challenges will keep coming. When you're 5 years old, there's one challenge. When you're 55 or 85, challenges are different. But how can we respond without getting stressed? Prevention, as you know, is so much easier. Right? We learn to swim. So when the challenge comes, we don't drown. Similarly, if you learn now, when you're young, to understand yourself and how your mind works, so that you live with wisdom, not according to anybody else, your own innate wisdom, which is already in you, you just tap into it. So when the challenge comes, you won't drown, you'll respond with intelligence. You won't be the person who reaches for the bottle of alcohol, or the drugs, or jumps off a bridge, or does something stupid, or lashes out in anger, or goes out and bullies other people, or whatever it is people do when they're stressed. Right? I can tell you, I can sit here for the next hour and a half and tell you all the stories of young people and old people who've taken their own lives. Because when the challenge came, they didn't know how to deal with it. Maybe I'll tell you one story. I had a colleague who's an anesthetist, and this is in the public domain, so I'm not revealing anything. You can Google it. We worked together for 20 years. Fantastic anesthetist. Or again, from India. If my life depended on it, he would be the guy I went to. Right? That good. So you can imagine, to get to that pinnacle of his life, professional life, how educated he was, right? Just like you are being educated. One day a complaint came in from a patient. It was about, she'd been sexually harassed, she said. But she was in the anesthetic room, and, under the effect of those drugs you give to induce anesthesia, people's minds go funny. The nurse was in the room. So there was evidence that nothing happened. It was just her word. And so typically in these cases, an investigation is launched. He was suspended from work pending the results of that. Can you imagine? He couldn't cope with that. Jumped off a bridge. 3 small children. This can happen to anybody, right? This is why this understanding and living with this wisdom is absolutely crucial, not just because we're going to be drowning, but also to live a really happy life. Sophocles said 2,500 years ago, your happiness depends on your wisdom. But our mind thinks our happiness depends on how much money we earn, whether we'll be CEO or whatever of that organization, or whether we'll have a beautiful family, all of those things. So this wisdom is crucial, not only for your happiness, but also to help us deal with life's challenges. And today we're going to explore how it can help us deal with stress. So here's a question for you. Here we are. Is stress caused by the event or by our reaction to it? Okay. Because the mind assumes stress is coming from the event. In your case, exams, job interviews, what other people think about you, money, all of those things. But if the stress is being caused by the event, then everyone in that traffic jam should be stressed and to an equal degree. But of course, that's not the case, right? So stress is caused by our reaction to the event, not the event itself. By thinking about the event, not the event itself. If someone's in front of you with a knife, you don't think, you run or you tackle it. There's no stress. In that moment of challenge, there's no stress. You're just dealing with whatever needs to be dealt with. So to deal with stress, there are only 3 things you can do. And if you can take this away from today's talk, because you hear lots of talks, this would have been worthwhile. So you can either change the event, change the traffic jam, change your exam, all of those things which you cannot change, or you can change your reaction to the event. Well, there's one more thing you can do. You can accept things as they are. The moment you accept things as they are, your stress dissolves. If you can accept someone has a different skin color to you, someone has a different opinion to you, someone has a different religion to you, the moment you can accept someone's difference or the situation as it is, I failed an exam, okay, I accept, next. I didn't get this job, next. Someone doesn't like me, okay, everyone in the world can't like me, fine, next. The moment you accept, your stress can dissolve. Not easy. Someone you love has said, I don't love you anymore, I'm leaving you. How much heartache is caused in the world because of that simple fact? It's not a prison. We don't hold people. Give them your blessings, let them go. You deal with your own sorrow. Accept. Acceptance dissolves stress. If you take that away from today, you'd have learned something that will be useful all your life. But if you want to change your reaction to the event, you need to understand where your reaction comes from, right? And to understand where your reaction comes from, you need to begin a journey of looking and learning about yourself. So simple. But here's the problem. All our lives, we've been educated only about the world around us. Maths, science, geography, history, all that stuff, which you've forgotten completely, right? But we're not educated to understand ourselves. Why? Why is that? And this understanding is what awakens your inner intelligence. So I'm not saying you're going to, at the end of this talk, you're going to be stress-free. But hopefully you'll go away with wanting to learn more about yourself and begin this journey. And that's where the Human Wisdom app will come in, and I'll talk to you about that. Take a look at this list of problems in the world. Stress, 80%, anxiety, 50% or whatever. Relationship unhappiness or breakdown, 50 to 80%. And the list goes on. Addiction, 10 to 15%. Already among your friends and colleagues, you'll be seeing that. Obesity, in England, it's 28%. In America, it's 42%. Causes diabetes, heart disease. And in India, of course, you see it everywhere too now. And all of these things have one thing in common. We think they're different, but they all begin in our thinking. So if we understand the origins of them in our thinking, we can prevent those problems. Imagine being able to prevent stress and anxiety and have happy relationships. So everything you're being taught now will make you an excellent, whatever you want to be, engineer, doctor, manager, CEO. But to be an excellent human being, you need wisdom. What is an excellent human being? Someone who's happy, lives with joy and peace, has fulfilling, enduring relationships, meets the challenges of life. Fine, you stay calm, has a feeling for the earth. So this is why we set up the Human Wisdom Project. Because our time on earth is limited. And living with this wisdom can help us make the most of it. And live in peace with ourselves, each other, and the earth. And I want to introduce you to a different meaning or a wider meaning of the word success. When you think of the word success, you think of money, fame, great job, recognition, all of that. But the mind thinks of all of that because it thinks all of that is going to make it feel good on the inside. Right? Why would you chase recognition if it's going to make you feel bad? Living with wisdom allows you a different way of feeling good on the inside. Doesn't matter what happens on the outside. Right? So on the outside, your life could be ordinary. But the inside, it's extraordinary. And you've already succeeded. Because that is really what success is, to feel extraordinary on the inside. That's why we chase everything we do in the world, right? So we've created the Human Wisdom app. I'll be talking to you about it in a second. It's got 60 more. It's to allow everyone who is interested to begin this journey of looking and learning and applying that to your life. And as a result of that, you can not only be less stressed and anxious, but all the other things that you can see on this slide. But for me, the biggest thing this journey offers is to be able to live with compassion. for yourself and for others. Because the more you understand yourself, the easier it is to understand other people. But we could talk about that separately another time. Okay, so I'm going to now present you with 3 scenarios on how to tackle stress. One is simple, something you can do, you can fix, right? Something is causing me stress, I can fix it. A flat tire, a simple one. Car's not working. And you can think of your own examples. Electricity is gone today. Fine, we can fix all that. So we don't need to spend too much time on this. If it can be fixed, straightforward. What about this? A situation which cannot be changed. How can you respond with wisdom? You're married to somebody, conflict every day. How do you respond? Or your mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother, sister, relationship is in conflict. You failed an exam. You're in a job you don't like. You're not earning enough money. Your children are not talking to you. Your son's becoming a drug addict. So much is out of our control. How can we respond? So now let me share this screen. So can you see the app now, Samira? Yeah?
Yes, sir, we can see
Okay.
it.
Yeah, okay. So this is the Human Wisdom app. And it's been about 7 years in the making. And at its core, it's doing 2 things. It's helping you look and learn about yourself and apply that learning to every aspect of your life. And today, we're going to apply it to dealing with stress. So the first section introduces the idea of wisdom. Then there's a daily practice. There are dashboards that are personalized for you, and we'll be exploring them. Lots of features. Get help now. So stress, anxiety, anger. So when you're stressed right now, you can click on this video. Maybe we'll play a few minutes of it so you can see the 14 things you can do right now. If you want to click on a section, it collapses. Their life stories, short videos. And then we have these 16 modules on living with wisdom, and stress is just one of them. And this is what we're going to be exploring in more depth on this meeting. Then modules on managing your emotions, how to have a calm mind, to understand yourself and how your mind works. So all the things we're going to be talking about are going to be here. And then how to make the world a better place, because that's one of my big passions. You see, as a young person, what are you doing to help make the world a better place? Because this is your century. I'm almost 60, I'll be gone. I tell all the young people, this is your century. What are you doing to help make the world a better place for you? Are you relying on some government to do that? And you have no answer. But when I talk to 6-year-old children, I say, what are you doing today to help make the world a better place? You know how many hands go up? Every child's hand goes up. This is what I'm doing. This is what I can do. But when you talk to young people and to adults, they have no answer because they think someone else is going to do it for them. So for me, this is what I'm doing, which is to help people live with this inner understanding, which can help bring transformation. Okay, let's go into the detail. So let's open the stress module and answer that question that we had. How can we manage stress with wisdom? So what are the 14 ways that you can respond? Maybe we'll cover a few because we've got a lot to cover. And then, of course, you can come back to this and look at it yourself. So Gary Goldstein said, all you can do is change yourself, but sometimes that changes everything. And that's what we're trying to do here. So the first thing is to breathe, pause, slow the reaction down, because our mind is reactive, bang, bang, bang. If I'm in Saudi Arabia, I see 2 men kissing, call the police. throw them in jail, whatever, because it's so different to pause. You failed an exam. Baba, don't jump off that bridge just yet. Pause, breathe, slow the reaction down. It's the single most important thing you can do. And the app has a number of breathing exercises, which I will point out and you can learn. All through the app, you'll find these questions. So this is an online journal. So it's not just an information exchange, it's also a practice. So you practice and you share your, write down your reflections, and you can share it on the forum so you can see what others have said on the same question. Okay, stress makes us zoom in, right? So there's a pin in my finger, say this is a pin. 100% of my attention is focused on the pin, okay? And I think that's my world. I failed an exam. My whole life is a failure. If someone I love has left me, I am not worthy of love. How my mind so focused on what's happened. So zoom out. Consciously learn to zoom out. Then make a list of all the things you have to be grateful for already. There's a long list. If my friend had done that, he wouldn't have jumped off the bridge. That simple thing, if he had learned and someone had taught him through his education, he would not have jumped off that bridge because he had so many things to be grateful for. Fantastic family, 3 children, a career, thousands of people he'd looked after so well in his life, right? So practice this for yourself. The more you zoom out, the less it matters, right? Is there another way of seeing the same situation? I failed an exam. Okay, what's a positive from that? I asked a 10-year-old, and the 10-year-olds have all the wisdom. This boy said to me, next time I'll try harder. I'll learn something from my failure. Famously, Winston Churchill said in his Nobel Prize winning speech, he got the Nobel Prize for Literature of all things. He said, I must thank my English teacher who failed me 6 times in my primary school for not writing well enough or whatever, because I perfected the art of the English sentence. So failure can also be looked on in a completely different way, in a more positive way. And then, is there another way to respond? To any situation, there are always many different things you can do to respond. By the way, if you have any questions or comments, please include them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on it as we go. I should have said that in the beginning. So there's always a different way to respond. You know, someone shouting at you, you don't have to respond with anger. You can just pause, breathe, and say, why is this person shouting at me? What's going on with them? You know. And of course, as a surgeon, I had always had patients who were, you know, upset and all that. But they just calmly say, well, what's going on? Why are you? Then you realize they're really upset, this, that, then you just have to calm them down. So when you're having an argument, ask yourself if there's a different, more intelligent way to respond. You're going to have lots of arguments in your life. You know, right? Even today, you might have an argument. But in the middle of that, you can ask yourself, is there any point, for example, me repeating my point for the 3rd time or for the 10th time? Is it going to make any difference to how that other person thinks? If it not, do I really need to bother? I talked to you about acceptance. 1 second, just opening up the window here. So acceptance dissolves stress. We've talked about that. The moment you accept things as they are, by the way, that doesn't mean you stop doing something about it. If there's an injustice, you will do something about it. Doesn't mean you, whatever it is you want to do. But you know, stress reduces the capacity of your brain by 70%. So responding calmly allows you to use 100% of your brain's capacity to deal with the challenge. That's why acceptance can dissolve stress and then give you many more options that you can apply yourself to deal with the challenge. So this is a little video we have. We have these conversations with ordinary people on how we can apply this understanding to deal with challenges. I am here. So I'll let you look at that. Okay. So many of these things are so important. Come back and look at them, please, in your own time. Do you know why we have 15% of the world addicted to something? Do you know why there were 105,000 deaths from drug overdoses in the United States last year? More than all the wars that the US has fought in the last 70 years, in 1 year. It's for this reason that our brain doesn't know how to deal with stress. So it wants to escape. And it escapes through alcohol, drugs, gambling, some other form of pleasure or whatever. The escape causes more trouble than the problem itself. I did a survey here locally of people who had survived suicide. You know, after my friend died, I wanted to understand this more. It was so interesting. In many, many people, the challenge was 20 years ago. My brother died. I started drinking to deal with the pain, emotional pain. And then that drinking is what caused more trouble than the original problem. So don't escape. Is it in your zone of control? You might be very worked up about Donald Trump or whoever in another country, but does it matter? Is it in your zone of control wherever you might live? If not, let it go. This is the hardest thing to do. But the hardest thing to do is often the best thing to do, right? The hardest thing to do is to live with integrity. But long term, it's the best thing to do. Just look at Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister here in England. When faced with a challenge, he tells a lie because at that moment, telling a lie is the easiest thing to do. The hardest thing to do at that time is to tell the truth. But it's the lies that are catching him out. And, he's going to not last very long. But you can find other examples of that. So taking ownership of your feelings means realizing your stress is a reaction from yourself. It was triggered from the outside. Yes, somebody said something. Somebody left you. Something happened. Somebody broke a promise. Someone didn't call you on your birthday. Whatever it is. But the reaction has come from you. Stress is an opportunity for learning about yourself. That's the key thing to take on board. So if you take ownership, then you are in the driving seat. You can do something about it. Suppose you feel, my boss is bad, or my wife is, or my husband, whatever it is, right? Then unless they change, your stress is not going to go away. But this way, by taking ownership, say, why am I reacting in this way? You can change your reaction, your stress can go. And it's important, as we said, for our own health, right? So what can you learn? And we're going to explore that separately. And of course, remember that everything passes. No matter how acute the situation, every feeling passes. Every storm runs out of rain. Maya Angelou said that. Beautiful quote to remember. Having a positive attitude, of course, makes the biggest difference. I'm going to talk to you about this, meeting stress without thinking. This is the second thing I want you to take away today. Stress is rooted in thinking. Right? give you a little test you can try out next time you're stressed. Say you're stressed by something. Distract yourself for 1 hour. Go watch a movie or do something like play a sport. Whatever it is you do. For that 1 hour, your mind is completely distracted. Your stress is not there. The moment you start thinking about your exam again, boom, stress is back. So stress is a reaction from our thinking. If you can meet stress without thinking, your stress dissolves. The oxygen supply to that stress gets cut off. I'm going to show you, we don't have time to go into it in this call, but I can show you on the app where to find that information and study that. If you can learn that skill, then you can meet everything in that way. Your anger, your fear, your envy, your stress, all of that, your sorrow, your grief. And it gives you that space then for your mind to then look at options and deal with it in a really intelligent way. Okay. I'm going to pause that and then go back to our presentation. There's more here, of course, but I want you to take your time to look at it. Okay, so we've talked about 14 ways we can respond with wisdom. We did about 12. Well, you can do the rest. What about scenario 3? Stress comes from your own thinking that you're not aware of. Right? For all of you, or many of you, this will seem like a very foreign idea. How can I be responsible for my own stress? My husband's responsible for my stress, or my brother is, or the world is, or whatever it is responsible. How can I be responsible? Keep an open mind. Be curious. Because here, in studying these 14 ways, your thinking causes your stress without your awareness. There are 14 ways you can prevent it and live without stress for the long term. So not just deal with challenges from the outside, but live with wisdom on the inside. So let me go back to the app and show you what I'm talking about. See this section 4 called causes of stress. We'll just do 2 or 3. Samira, if you could keep an eye on the chat from here, that's fine, it's not there. So let's look at the causes of stress.
Yes.
The inner causes, okay? Byron Katie said, it's not the problem that causes our suffering, it's thinking about the problem. Think about it for yourself, see if it's true. External causes of stress, of course, are many. But let's look at the internal causes of stress. Number 1, conditioning. What is conditioning? Is just my past influences. Everything that's happened to me in my past is stored in my head. I travel the world, I compare what I see in the world with what I know. If it's very different, it creates a reaction. And it creates a disturbance, which I call stress. I live in a white neighborhood. Suddenly a black family moves in. Without me realizing why I get stressed. I think they're causing my stress. If they leave, my stress will go away. Right? That's the beginnings of racism. I've grown up in a family where my mother did all the cooking. I get married and I expect my wife to do all the cooking. And she says, get lost. You have to do your own share of the cooking. And there's my stress. Right? Or here it's a very common example. I want the dishwasher stacked in one way, or the clothes hung out to dry in one way. My wife wants it another way. Stress. It doesn't matter what it is. Stress is the difference between how things are and how I want them to be. How I want them to be comes from my conditioning. And I'm not aware. It's like a thief has come into your house at night, put his thoughts in your head. When you wake up, you think they're your thoughts. And you think, of course I'm right, you're wrong. And that's where all the jhagada begins. So there's a whole module on conditioning to explore. So have a look at that. And it's all unconscious. The mind is conditioned and it reacts from that condition. That's the way life is. Oh, let me give you this is probably a good time to explain how this one thing, conditioning and understanding it, can bring peace to the world and would have stopped those children dying in that hospital in the Middle East. Say this is the border, okay? India and Pakistan. I'm born on this side of it, I'm Indian. You're born on that side, you're Pakistani. We grew up hating each other, we never ask why. Nobody has ever taught us to ask why. Why do you hate somebody you've never met? Could be anywhere. Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, Russia, Hindu, Muslim, doesn't matter what the division is. The moment we ask why, we realize we've just been conditioned by our influences from our environment without our awareness or our permission. That deep down, we're the same human being, you and I, because the same process has happened to both of us. You know what I mean? If you look at biologically, we are 99.999% the same human being. Our DNA is the same. So what's different is our conditioning. And that is what's making us hate each other. The moment you and I see that, we put our guns down, we say, this is meaningless. The right hand and left hand are connected to the same body, we're the same human being. And so our conflict can dissolve. Okay. Comparison. My brother is doing better than me career-wise. I became a school teacher. He joined the army. He's a colonel. He's earning 1 lakh or 2 lakhs a month or 3 lakhs a month. I'm on 30,000 a month. I can only afford a scooter. That comparison is killing me. I feel I'm no good, etc., etc. So low self-esteem. I think he is responsible for how I'm feeling. We meet, but our relationships are strained. I'm not close to him. Our families are not close to each other because I'm not close to my brother. And this is eating me up. It's not going away. The stress is continuous. I wake up and sleep thinking I'm no good. I blame him for how I'm feeling. It's not his fault. He's joined the army. I decided to become a teacher. My mind is comparing all the time without realizing it. It's that comparison that's causing my own envy and my own feelings and my own hatred and all of that. The moment I see that clearly, it finishes. Is it serving me? No. Is it changing the situation? No. So it's a big cause of our stress. Think about it, conditioning and comparison. Half of our stress is caused by this. What others are doing, what others are wearing, driving, going on holiday, what are they eating? So all our unmet desires. I think I'll be happy when I go on holiday to Dubai, when I buy my Mercedes Benz, when this happens, when that happens. And of course, what that means is my mind is postponing its happiness still, for a year or whenever. But if I can't go to Dubai or buy my Mercedes Benz or become the CEO of the company, then for that next time, all that time I'm stressed. So my stress is created by my own thinking, but I'm not aware of it. I'm just giving you 3 examples so far. There's 11 more to come. I'm not going to have time to go through them all. Let's do 1 or 2 more. Can you think of a time when you got stressed because you did not get what you wanted? This is the mind doing all the time. Not you personally. The human mind's doing this. Always projecting our happiness into the future. Oh my goodness. If you could learn to live without fear, your life could be completely transformed. We have a whole module on fear that you should do. Give your right hand to do it, because living without fear, oh my goodness, can completely transform your life. How do you live without fear? It's by understanding the nature of it, by accepting uncertainty and whatever the future can bring. But that's subject for another talk. We don't have time today. So I asked some 10-year-old children, I said, what's the root cause of fear? And this girl said, it's your imagination playing up. It's not real. I came across a beautiful quotation. Your fear is real, but the danger it points to may not be real. You're going to an exam, you think I'm going to fail the exam. That danger may not be real. Even if I fail the exam, I'll be no good in life. I'll be homeless. That may not be real. Look at all the people who dropped out of college and became billionaires in the world, or who never went to any school whatsoever, right? And so on. So also we have many unmet emotional needs. I have a need to be important. For example, I gave a talk to a group of young men, or doctors actually, in a hospital. And this young man came to me afterwards and he said, Manoj, I'm very stressed. I said, why? He said, nobody recognizes my worth in this hospital. I work from morning to night. It's a thankless job. I said, do you realize you are responsible for your own stress? He said, how? He says, I said, your mind wants other people to make you feel important so you can be happy about yourself. It's like saying to others, here's the keys to my happiness, make me happy. Make me feel important. And if you don't make me feel important, I'll get stressed and I'll blame you for my unhappiness. So this is how the mind works, right? I said, why do you need other people to validate you? You're doing such a great job as a doctor. Why doesn't the job itself give you the pleasure you need? Enough, no? Why do you need the boss to pat you on the back all the time? But all this is happening unconsciously. That's the main thing to realize. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause there because we could go on. And I'm going to go back to our presentation. So I've just given you a flavor of how our stress can come from our own thinking. So we've talked about this. It's just a difference between how things are and how we want them to be. So this is my vision for transforming education. Because at the moment, it's based on testing memory. And how much of memory do we actually use in today's day and age? Everything you need is on your phone. You make a shopping list also, you write it down. So if this self-understanding and wisdom becomes a subject as part of education all over the world, including where you are now, it can help you in all sorts of ways, 100 different ways. How can we nurture the human potential of human beings to be excellent human beings? And teach young people to care, not just for yourself, but also for others and the earth. We are being educated only to be number one. How can you be number one? This is the world we have created. What's the point of living in a world where all around you is in chaos and you are number one? So we need to change the way we think. Yes, by all means, have enough for yourself. No question. But also have a feeling for others and a responsibility. Why am I doing what I'm doing? It's because I feel a responsibility for humanity as a whole. Because I went from a very well-paying job to a job that pays nothing. But because I feel this responsibility for humanity as a whole. And I wish more people felt that way. So we could work together to make this world a better place. So if you could live with much less stress or without it, you'd be happier, number one. You'd be a kinder person. Because you know when you're stressed, what your mind is doing. It's focused only on itself. It's like a fire in your brain. If there's a fire anywhere, that takes all your attention. You're focused on your stress. You have no time for your wife, husband, children, family, work, nothing. Of course, you'd be healthier. We talked about that. And you'd make better choices in your life. You won't reach for the drink or the drugs. You won't be jumping off the bridge. You won't be just going and buying unnecessary things to deal with stress or eating unnecessarily to deal with stress and so on, right? Which is what the world is doing, which is why do you think obesity is 42% in America? We don't have the stats for India, but I'm sure in middle class India, if we looked at it, the stats would be very similar. If you take the 300 million Indians who are in the middle class. So knowledge fades, you know. Everything you're being taught today in your education is going to disappear in 3 months' time. But this wisdom, once awakened, can enrich your life forever. So I'm going to show you now a few more things in the app that I've talked about. And then we can open it to some questions or comments. Remember, you and I are the same human being. I'm not pretending to be a different human being to you, which is why this wisdom is very accessible. If I can get it and a 10-year-old can get it, you can get it too. Right? That's the main thing. It's already inside you. You just need to look for it. So for example, here, if you look at all the personalized for you section, there's a section called overcome stress and anxiety. Okay. So look at the video on stress. I'll play 1 minute for you.
Hi, in this short film, we're going to explore 14 things you can do right now to deal with the acute stress you're feeling. All of us have moments in our lives when we're faced with challenges that result in a severe feeling of stress. When faced with this feeling, it's difficult to know what to do because it feels like a fire in our brain. We feel lost, as if we're in a fog and cannot see a way out. This is the usual way the human mind responds, and you're not unique in this way. In this situation, it's helpful to have a clear list of things we can be reminded to do to deal with this feeling of stress. If you're severely distressed and have any thoughts of harming yourself.
So that's one thing. Then these are the modules. So we looked at the stress module, but there's breathing, fear and anxiety, conditioning, reactive mind, the mind's reactive. We have a huge section on life stories, where wisdom is applied to deal with practical life experiences. So this is a story, for example, about a young man and problems in his country where he was coming from, etc. This is our little blurb about. So sometimes the problems in the world can cause us stress, for example. And at the end of it, you can go and explore the module that's relevant. So for example, you can go to the sorrow and loss module and explore how that can help you. We also have these guided questions, which you'll find really helpful. It's like having a coach in your pocket. So for example, if you click on the stress guided questions, how are you feeling? There are 12 questions. But each question takes you a little bit further to having less stress right now. So can you stay with the feeling, focus on your breathing? How does that feel? And so on. So, and all these questions are stored in your online diary, okay? So the guided questions, then we have these short videos, which are only about 1 or 2 minutes long. And so for example, let me play one of them for you. It's only 2 minutes.
Are you feeling stressed? Begin by taking a deep breath and letting it out really slowly. Allow your mind to quieten down. Think of us as two friends walking along a beach. Hear the sound of the waves filling your ears and the smell of the sea air. Allow yourself to relax. Notice the feeling of stress in yourself. Can you take away all the labels and just be with that feeling? Continue breathing slowly.
This is what I meant by looking without language. So being able to be with that feeling without thinking.
Now ask yourself a question. Does my stress come from the outside event? Or is it a reaction from my own thinking? Take your time. What does your wisdom say? Did you find clarity? Did you see clearly that our stress is a reaction from our own thinking? Because no two people are stressed to the same degree by the same event. Taking ownership of your own stress allows you to do something about it and not depend on others to change. Do you feel calm? You have just experienced wisdom in action.
So these are short videos. We've got plenty of them. We keep adding new videos as we go along. Then we have a number of podcasts. So this one is about social media, positive mindset. But if you look at the list, we've got about 30 podcasts, and we keep adding to that. And we also host a number of events. So, and the videos of that are here. So this is a talk I gave a few years ago to a group of teachers. It's about half an hour long. It contains many of the key ideas today, and so on. So there's events, and then there's guided meditations as well. So that's just one dashboard on stress. But you can see, but there are dashboards on relationships and sorrow and loss, workplace wisdom, how to be happier, change unhelpful habits, have a calm mind, and manage your emotions. So all of those are possible. Now, let me also show you a couple of things we've talked about. So here are some breathing exercises that you can learn to do. You don't have to do them all, but as long as you have one that you can do at any time of the day, it's a very quick and easy way of getting over and dealing with stressful situations. So we have some breathing exercises for a calm mind, audio meditations. But the core of the program is in here, exploring how your mind works. So understanding your conditioning and comparison. We talked of those two things today. Our emotional needs, our self-interest, and so on. And this last section is probably the foundation, where it teaches you how to begin to look at yourself. We know how to look at the world, but not ourselves. So it talks about awareness, inquiry, how to ask questions. So I'll give you a simple example. My son doesn't call me on my birthday. I'm really angry with him. I'm stressed, upset. I blame him for how I'm feeling. So the wisdom approach says, right, Manoj, you're feeling this. What's going on? There are only 3 steps to inquiry. To looking, I'm stressed and angry. Taking ownership, yeah, it's coming from me. And then asking a question, why? What's going on in your thinking to make you feel this way. Then I realize it's my own unmet expectation. I was expecting him to call. It's causing my own anger and stress. So I take ownership. Yeah, comes from me. Not that it's right or wrong. It's just that's why I'm angry. So I communicate, saying, Manan, you didn't call me. I felt really bad. But there's no anger in that anymore. See, I'm learning something about myself. My expectations when they're not met cause me stress. How many other expectations do I have of other people that are causing my stress? And so on. You see what I mean? So the whole journey of looking and learning begins with a stressful event. So stress is an opportunity for learning about ourselves. And the Human Wisdom app is a way of helping you go on this journey. It's a lifelong journey. It's not something you can fix straight away, but it has so many benefits. So what we'll do is we will send you some trial links, Nisiganda, that you can share with at least the people who came today, and we'll get your feedback. And if there are any questions or comments, we have a few minutes to explore them. So don't feel shy. Go ahead. Oh, you can disagree as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Anything I say is true only if you see it yourself. Yes, Sumanta.
Sir, can stress be transferable? For example,
You just broke
wants
up.
his son to become a doctor, but the son wants to be. Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Go ahead. Yeah.
You come again because there was some interruption.
Right. Yes. Sir, my question is, can stress be transferable from one person to another? For example, one of my relatives, but the son wants to become a singer. Now the parents are under stress because their boy doesn't agree to their verdict and opinion, and they cannot maintain their position in the society. On the other hand, the boy is under stress because their parents are not accepting his field of interest. So how to deal with that?
So there is an obvious way where the parents will force the boy. That's what happens in most societies, right?
Yes.
Or the boy will run away, or he'll rebel. But a better way is to understand why. Why does my mind think the way it does? Why do I feel the way that I do? So Sumanta, that's the question that opens the door to wisdom. So for the parents, let's take this example. The parents, it's ready. The iOS version is ready, guys. In the last 2 days, it's got launched. You can download it from the Apple Store today. So Human Wisdom, one word. So coming back to you, Sumanta. Parents ask themselves, why are we stressed? Because I want my son to do something different to what he wants. Why do I want him to do that? Because I'm afraid of him, of the future for him. Right? Maybe I need to examine my own fears. Am I transferring my fears to my son? If I carry on along this road of forcing him, what impact is it going to have? So many stories of young people taking their life because their parents forced them to do something they didn't want to do. So do I really? And even if I do, maybe is there a better way? A more loving, kind way of doing that? That's from the parent's side. And from the child's side or the young man's side, to realize the parents are acting without an awareness of why they're behaving in that way. Right? Parents are not also conditioned by the society they live in. They are not aware of their own conditioning. They want their son to be a doctor because they want other people to think good things about them. They're not even aware of this process. Mera son doctor hai, that kind of thing. Versus my son is a singer. Not realizing the most important thing is to be a happy human being. Don't you think? What's the point of life if you're going to waste it? So what I'm saying is, this wisdom allows everybody in that equation to ask questions. and learn and grow, and then live with compassion. So the closeness of the family doesn't break up because they have a disagreement. Right? That's the main thing.
Yes.
Achha, I have a question, Manoj.
Yes, Nisigandha.
So actually, some of these cases, if not all, we know, like, it is like how I am reacting and or how I am thinking about the situation is causing me stress. Okay. But like you said, like people are conditioned and people around me are conditioned to certain things. Say, for example, my parents or my in-laws or my husband, whoever it is, they're conditioned to certain things. They think it has to be in a certain way. If you don't do, then there is a problem. So I know, like, it is something that I have to change my attitude towards it, and I have to take it or accept it as it is. And but then there are others who are kind of forcing me to feel more and more about it. There is a problem, there is a problem, there is a problem, and feel stress, be stressed, and act towards it. So how do sort of people, like, it's true that I don't want to feel stress about it, but people are constantly sort of trying to make me feel stress.
What I feel, Nisigandha, is that the only person you can control is yourself.
Yeah.
Right. We all have to find a way of being anchored in our own peace, which comes with this wisdom. It's like learning to play the piano. It doesn't happen overnight. Or swim. It's a skill to learn. How much effort have we all spent being educated, passing exams? Put the same effort on the inside to being learning, growing in wisdom, being excellent human being inside. So you're anchored in your own peace. Then you look with compassion at everybody around you. They cannot help who they are. They cannot help how they're behaving. Yes, if you meet them and educate them in a loving way, maybe they'll change. Do you realize, why are you thinking like this? That's the question to ask them. Don't say you're wrong. Say, why are you thinking like this? Where did your views come from? Is there another way of looking at the same situation? So if we explain in a loving way, people listen. I think I've found people listen.
Sometimes it takes a great amount of time also.
But it's worth doing, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can explain in a kind way to people. Or you can say, go and look at the Human Wisdom app, learn something from there.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll react to you, but they may not react to an app,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So we have a question in the chat box.
Yeah, some Faisal saying if a person is subjected to some decision-making process, the stress will impact their decisions and in turn will increase their stress level and a continuous cycle. Quite right. So here's the thing. If your mind is already stressed, which most minds are, a stressed mind cannot make good decisions, right? A stressed mind is always reactive. So the first thing you have to do is to calm your own mind down. Do all the things we've talked about here. Go through the stress module, breathing exercises, all of those things. The other things you can do also. Then when your mind is calm, then you can make better decisions. So don't make decisions when you're stressed. Simple question. Simple, don't you think?
Yeah.
Because you'll always end up making the wrong ones. So give yourself some space and time because your mind needs to calm down first. Then you've got other options. Then many more options will open up. A stressed mind cannot think of more than one option. That young man, that friend of mine who jumped off a bridge, could only think of that one option. If his mind was calm, he could have realized there are many, many more options here for him. So stress is not a good time to make decisions for all of us. Great. Any other thoughts or comments? You can either raise your hand using WhatsApp or you can just speak. Good. Okay. So Nisigandha, shall we call it a day? Do you want to summarize?
I have one last question.
Ah, yes, Sumanta, go ahead. Yes.
Sir, can responsibility increase stress?
Yes.
Like for instance, a small boy, say age of 12 or 15, working in a tea stall or say in a bike garage,
Yes.
he's working and to feed his family.
Yes.
But he is under stress because he do not want to work anymore, but to go for study or schooling.
Yes.
But due to under the circumstances, so can it be like that?
Yes. Sumanta, life is tough for so many people. If you and I think life is tough for us, you just have to walk around Calcutta or go around to other parts of the world. I read someone told me something really shocking the other day. But there's a Adivasi community near Katraj where the average salary per year per person is 600 rupees per year. And still these people live and survive, But it goes back to the basics. The mind assumes its stress comes from the outside. By training our mind with this wisdom, we can train ourselves to live with peace. Be anchored in that peace. Then you deal with whatever is in front of you in the most intelligent way. Not to say that challenges will not be there tomorrow. Today is one challenge, tomorrow, Sumanta, it will be something else,
Yes.
For that 12-year-old boy, today it's the responsibility of feeding his family. When he's 30, it will be some other responsibility, some other challenge. When he's 70, it will be he's got cancer. See? But if you can learn from an early age to live with this wisdom, and here is a simple way we have created to help you with that, then doesn't matter what life throws in front of you, you are ready. Whether it's responsible, whatever it is. There are 100 causes of stress in life, right? Or 1,000. You're ready for all 1,000. That's the main message from this talk. Find out for yourself. Don't believe anything I'm saying. Find out for yourself is the main message. Then it's your understanding. Then your life will be nourished from the inside all your life. You don't need anybody else. Great. And thank you all for your time today. And I will send this recording. And let's begin traveling together. Let's see what we can do in the world to make it a better place.
Thank you so much, Mas. Thank you. And hopefully we'll work together in the future.
Thank you, Nisigandha. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Samira.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ma'am.